Lost Art with Andrew Cox, retired Master Gunnery Sergeant. thelostart.podbean.com. Get some merchandise and help support the podcast in getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. Now on all major podcast platforms. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be a guest, tell your veteran story, discuss your veteran business or organization. Email The Lost Art with Andrew Cox at gmail.com. Andrew Cox, a Till Valhalla Project Ambassador. See the project story at tillvalhallaproject.com. Thanks for tuning in. Please enjoy the podcast that's giving a voice to our veterans. The Lost Art with Andrew Cox.
Today's episode is brought to you by TrumpShirt.com. TrumpShirt.com is a veteran-owned business where 100% of the proceeds goes to disabled veterans and veteran organizations. Support your veterans by purchasing a shirt at TrumpShirt.com. Use the promo code TLA and get free shipping. That's TrumpShirt.com, promo code TLA.
All right, we are recording, so here we go. Let me do this. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast giving a voice to our veterans. I'm your host, Andrew Cox, and today we're going to have Marine veteran and National Guard veteran Cameron Smith on to tell his story. But first, a big shout out to the Till Valhalla Project and all the incredible work that they're doing in honoring our fallen heroes. I encourage you to visit their website, tillvalhallaproject.com. Go check it out, see what they're all about, and think about helping them in their mission. Also, don't forget to go to our website and check it out. That's thelostart.podbean.com. Go in there, check it out, see what we got going on. There's a merchandise tab. You can click on that merchandise tab, go in there and get you some cool gear and help support our mission of getting our veteran voices out for all to hear. To all the listeners out there, thanks for joining. Thanks for tuning in every single time. It is much appreciated. Spread the word. Let everybody know that this is here. And we're going to keep this going until I get as many veterans as possible on here and telling their stories. With that, I got Cameron here. Cameron, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? You go by AJ?
I'm doing
nowadays.
AJ's fine. Yeah, no big deal. But I will answer to just about anything, so don't worry.
Gotcha.
I will respond. So, Cameron, let's go back to the very beginning for you. Where did you grow up, and how did you eventually get into military service?
I grew up in Norcross, Georgia, little suburb town northeast of Atlanta, and went to Norcross High School, and I was in the band there, and started out as a percussionist like you, but my junior year of high school, my band director wanted to start a second band with giving people the opportunity to play like a second instrument. So I picked up the French horn my junior year of high school. And then by the time I got out of high school, I was apparently decent enough to make an audition and make it into the band. So I auditioned and got into the band. My senior year, I was taking a political science class, and I was just learning about, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and everything, and our founding fathers. And I don't know, something struck a fire underneath me, lit a fire underneath me, and I just kind of felt like, you know what, I feel like this country is pretty happening place, and I want to do my part. I want to pitch in and make this place a better place to live, and show gratitude for everything, all those that went before and made this country what it was, especially the founding fathers that, did so under so much risk of loss of life and limb and everything. So,
heck yeah, man.
Senior year of high school, I just kind of got the fire. I wanted to serve, and I kind of just let that kick around in my head for a little while until I was about 20 years old, and that's when I finally. The timing, the reason why I joined when I did was because I needed a job. I got kicked out of somebody's house and lost a job, and I was like, well, I've always wanted to join up, and now it seems like as good a time as any for a paycheck. So so I talked to my recruiter, and I actually went down to the recruiting station, talked to Staff Sergeant Jarek K. Folks. If he's listening, thank you for your service, and thank you for helping me get into the Marines. But I talked to him with my best friend, who ended up, he wasn't interested in joining, but he went down and gave me some moral support, and So I went and talked to Staff Sergeant folks, and we talked over a couple different meetings as the thing goes, and the day came for me to go down there and sign, and I had my best friend with me, and I was walking, about to walk into the door, and I was like 2 arms lengths away from the door, and I was like, oh no, I don't know about this. And my best friend was like, no man, you're doing this, because he knew I'd been talking about it for like weeks and weeks, and he knew I really wanted to do it. And so he turned me around. He literally grabbed me, turned me around, and was like, you're doing this, man. I was like, all right. And he had something to lose too, because his best friend was leaving. So I'm really grateful that he would support me and help me do what we both knew was the right thing for me to do. So I signed up, and a few months later, actually 364 days after 9/11, so September 10th, 2002, I shipped off to boot camp and stood on the elevator.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So 2002, September 2002.
Right.
That's wild, man.
Yeah. So, the rest is history, as they say. But I, like I said, I joined the band. I played the French horn, and that's what I did for my 7 years that I was in the Marines. And during my time in the Marines, let's see, I got stationed out at Camp Pendleton with you.
Well, hey, let's back up a little bit. Don't get
right
ahead. I want to hear all the juicy details. So talk me through, you joined, okay, it's time to go. You're going to step foot on the yellow footprints. Tell me that experience as you were going into that, and like what was going through your head as you're getting ready to start your boot camp experience, and then talk through boot camp.
Oh man, I was nervous. I was scared, like anybody's going to be. I really had myself, I was kind of trying to focus ahead of all that into when I got into the fleet. They always tell you, yeah, boot camp is hard, your school's hard, but then you get into the fleet and life is normal. You just go to work every day and you go home, and then you got a paycheck, you got a place to live, you got your life is going to be great. And I was like, yes, that's what I'm going for. My vision was focused on that, and I knew how to get through boot camp, but to stay motivated, I was stay focused on that vision. The whole pride of belonging and all that stuff. That we talk about right before we join and everything. I was very much focused on that, and I remember having this like specific vision in my head of going off-roading in my Ford Ranger, which I didn't own one at the time, but I was like, I'm going to own a Ford Ranger, and I'm going to have a USMC sticker. At that time, it was real popular to have just United States Marine Corps in the red and gold, the really long, wide one with the short font. And it's like, I'm going to get my truck, I'm going to get that sticker, and I'm going to get some friends, and I'm going to go off-roading, and it's going to be awesome. And actually, I did end up going off-roading on Camp Pendleton. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but Austin Moore got stuck in the mud out there a lot. So
I remember those days. Yeah.
But anyway, I went to boot camp, and let's see, I was in, like I said, I was in Atlanta, so we just took I guess I took a bus to a hotel somewhere from like MEPS to somewhere near Parris Island, and then we stayed the night at Parris Island, and then they got us all on the big white bus and took us to the depot, and then they had I believe it was Gunnery Sergeant Ropp. Somehow he was, I don't know if you ever heard his name, but he got into a commercial or something later on for the Marines.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah, like a public affairs commercial or something. But got on the bus, gave the whole spiel and get off my bus. And I was like, what have I got myself into? It's like, get off of my bus. There's a couple of people I know talk like that, and I'm not real fond of any of them. But I guess I'll give this a shot, Can't go back now anyway.
Yeah.
I got a wave valve on that thing.
So how was those first couple of days, man?
Oh man, it was sleep deprivation. I remember, getting off the bus, and then, you check in all your personal belongings, and you go get your haircut, and they issue you your uniforms, and they're hurrying, hurry up, and go through all the gear issue. And I was like, man, why are they always hurrying me along just so I can stand here and wait for like 3 hours? Yeah, that was my introduction to hurry up and wait. of course, as it is for everybody. I remember walking into when you go into medical and get all the shots, and they had all the recruits there. I don't know if they did this when you were on the drill, but you know, the whole, you got to work that big ass.
The peanut butter shot is what they called it.
The tar, whatever it is that they shoot in, you got to work that. So I walked in and I'm like, what in the heck is this? Oh my gosh. So yeah, definitely, you know, sleep deprivation, culture shock, a little bit of, have I joined a cult? No. I do remember though, like, you know, like the first, like, so we got there like in the evening, and then we didn't sleep that night, and then the next day we finally got to sleep. But I just remember, like, man, I could just sleep standing up here, like sleeping up, like standing up against this wall, leaning against this wall.
Yeah,
it was definitely, you know, they throw you in, there's a big splash the minute you get there, you know.
Yeah,
that was they definitely got my attention.
I'm sure.
First phase, you know, it's pretty hard, and you know, you got thrown in with, you know, 60 other guys from all over the eastern United States, and it's like, man, I don't know who these guys are, where they came from, but they do not think like me at all. They do not look like me. They do not talk like me. I mean, you know, we're all mostly from the South. I guess there's some guys from the North too, but we're all from east of the Mississippi. And that was, you know, as I progressed through boot camp, I started getting to know the guys a little bit more. And it was my first experience where I really found, and I was 20 years old, you know, I wasn't that young, I guess, but you know, you grow up in a place, you never leave that place, and then you go to a place where there's kind of a melting pot. And it was the first experience where I learned that there were people in this world that did not think like me. Like, did not think like me at all. Even though we're from the same country, we speak the same language, you know, like we had guys from different races and different regions and different dialects and different socioeconomic statuses. And, you know, some of those guys probably thought they were living like kings, just, you know, having a rack and 3 houses.
Very true. Yeah.
You know, roof over their head. And, you know, for me, I grew up poor, but I didn't grow up as poor as some of those guys. And it was really interesting just, you know, to be thrown in to a situation with a whole bunch of guys that from everywhere, you know, it's just hodgepodge. And then with all different backgrounds and all different experiences and all different education levels or types of experiences. And then by the end, you know, we're all drilling and working and PTing as a unit. And it's really a beautiful thing. But yeah, it was really hard at first. It was like, man, my life would be so easy if that guy was not screwing up all the time. That guy could just do his job, keep his mouth shut. And I'm sure I was that guy for everybody else in the platoon as well. So
yeah,
it's an experience in learning how to just focus on the greater good and try to keep your head down and just, you know, fill those wickets you got to fill and move on to the next.
You know, you bring up a good point about you bring up a good point. It really is a melting pot. When you look like across the entire United States, you know, whether you're going East Coast, West Coast, but you're people from every walk, you know, different nationalities, you know, different just way they grew up, the South versus the North. And I mean, everywhere it's completely different. And that's a shock, especially if you've not really been around anybody else or any other, you know, ethnicity or whatever. You know, it can be very daunting.
Yeah, I'm sure that, you know, it's that experience happens for everybody. When you go.
Yeah, it's one of the best things that I think the military does is being able to bring everybody together on the same page, put them at the same level, and say you're all pieces of crap and you're all gonna have to work really hard. You know, that's kind of the idea behind it, I guess. You know, when you look at boot camp. But yeah, that's a good point.
If you don't want to be a piece of crap, you got to earn the title Marine. Can't do that. I don't want to see you again.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, man. Oh man, I'm getting a phone call. So talk me through Okay, you get through your boot camp experience, and now you're going to your MOS school, which is the School of Music, the Naval School of Music there in Virginia Beach. So kind of talk me your transition from boot camp to the Naval School of Music. What did you see? How was that for you?
Well, first, there's MCT. There's a little bit
Oh,
there.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
For me, it was interesting because I graduated boot camp on December 6th, and then we had our 2-week leave, and then
Mhm.
we had to report to Camp Geiger, but they ended up giving us a 96 for Christmas. We ended up spending New Year's Eve and New Year's Day in the field, but they gave us a 96 for Christmas, so that was really cool. I mean, it just it didn't really happen a lot, I guess. But I remember, so Austin Moore. No, that's okay. Yeah, so I met Austin Moore. You know Austin. We were all in
Yeah.
the same unit, Camp Pendleton, but I actually met him at MCT, and he became my best friend in the Marine Corps. That's the title we gave each other. But yeah, that was really interesting because we were just sitting on the bleachers one day in the field, smoking and joking because we didn't have shit else to do, and we didn't want to fall asleep, yelled at by our instructors. So we're sitting there, and I'm like, "What's your MOS, man?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm in the band." "Oh, man, you're in the band too? What are you playing?" The rest is history. But we rode from CT to the School of Music together, and we reported in our service alphas together. So we were riding the bus, and they made a stop somewhere between, Wilmington and Little Creek, and I don't remember what it was, but we were standing there in this Hardee's or Carl's Jr. or whatever it was, in a truck stop somewhere, and we're both standing there, in our service alphas, trying to look
Looking
super
sharp.
crisp.
Looking
Of course,
sharp.
we don't know crap about looking sharp yet because we haven't been to the band yet. We haven't been to the uniform school through the band, but we thought we were looking sharp. And there's this woman standing there, and she had a little kid who was like 3 or 4 years old. She's like, "Look, Mom, Army guys," and we were both like, "Hey, what's up, little kid?" But yeah, it was cool. It was like one of the first experiences I ever had of being recognized for being in uniform. So
Yeah.
that was cool.
So some little kid in North Carolina, probably,
Yep.
who is probably grown, maybe in the military because of you. That
Maybe
first
yeah,
impression,
that's 2002. So yeah, that was 22 years ago.
Yeah.
He might be
Shoot,
on
they could,
listening right now.
yeah, or they could be halfway through by now, man.
Yeah,
You
they
never
could have
know.
re-enlisted by now. Who knows?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I mean, I remember him, and I'm sure a 3-year-old standing there staring, up at two guys in service alphas. That can't be something you forget easily.
Oh yeah. You know what's funny is there's so many people that they see the uniform or see somebody in uniform, and it's that iconic moment for them, and they're like, I'm going to do that. And then years and years later, when they get out and they turn 18, they join the Marine Corps, or they join another service or whatever. And it's because of that vision that they saw. And that could have been you, man.
Who knows? I mean, I did go a lot of places in my uniform. I remember wearing my Deltas, on leave a couple times at home.
Yeah.
Like first time I came home after, I guess it was on my, I don't remember when it was because I remember, Deltas is a short sleeve uniform. It was summertime.
Yeah.
For a while when I was pretty boot, I would wear my uniform out just because I wanted to show off. And who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows who took that very seriously as a young child?
You know what's funny about that is you said that when you were boot, you wore your uniform out. I went through a cycle. So when I was boot, I did the same thing. I wore my uniform out. Then I didn't for a really, really long time. And then I did it again when I was senior. It was very weird. It was like, oh, hey, man,
if I retired, cool. I'd probably do the same thing. I'd be like, yeah, I just retired. That's cool as hell, man. Check the threads, yo. Like, I mean, that's
yeah.
Absolutely.
That's pretty funny. Well, so you meet up with Moore. You're there at Geiger on your way up to the School of Music there in Virginia Beach. So talk me through now you get to the schoolhouse.
All right, so we got to the schoolhouse. Let's see, it was late January, I guess. I don't know. I think he and I were one of the ones from our class that got there sooner than everybody else. So we were waiting for everybody else to arrive and waiting to class up. And then, they have all the chores and stuff. There wasn't any grass to mow at that time. So I don't even remember what we did. I think we just did some cleaning, or mostly they just said, hey, go IP. So we're like, okay, what does IP mean? Individual practice. Oh, okay, thanks. So, to sit around and play my horn all day, practice my horn, that is cool.
Yeah. Not only do you get to sit around and practice, you're getting paid to practice, which is really cool.
I'm a professional musician now, man. That's the dream right there.
Yeah.
So we got there. Let's see, we classed up. Some iconic faces I remember seeing there at the school was I forget the first name, but Master Sergeant Michelson.
Michelson. Yeah, I remember him.
Gunny Mummy was there. Ken Mummy, he was teaching
Kid Mummy,
for ear training. I don't remember which.
Yeah.
Brian, forget his last name now, which is funny. I can remember his first name, but he became a band officer later.
Sherlock, trumpet player.
Sherlock.
Yeah.
Teaching theory there. Who else? Of course, I met you there. You are an advanced student going through the drum.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. That was back when I had the bald head and then the mustache, right? Did I have the mustache then? Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
that was right after my first enlistment, and that was my incentive to go back to the school for the advanced course from Okinawa.
Oh yeah. So Okinawa was your only band, or you had been to 2 bands by that point, hadn't you?
I was in 29 Palms. I did that for almost 2 years. Actually, it might have been just over 2 years. Then I went to Okinawa for less than a year. I ended up being there, I think it was 10 months, maybe just over 10 months, because I got orders back to the schoolhouse.
Yeah. I remember that about you. You were, I remember you saying something about how, like, if you wait for the monitor to decide your assignment, you don't know. But if you, every 2.5, 3 years, you're like, hey, I want to go here, then more likely to get it. And I just remember you being a real hard charger and taking your career by the horns and being proactive about it. And look at you now. So
I know, right? Yeah.
Meeting you back then, and we actually stayed pretty close throughout my time in the Corps, because we were at the school, then we went to Camp Pendleton together, we got deployed together just once, and then we both ended up at MCRD San Diego together before I got out. So you were pretty much there the whole time. We were now a little while, but
we got to Camp Pendleton around the same time, correct? You might have got there a little bit before me.
Yeah.
But I can't remember.
I don't remember how long you were in the school, but yeah. It was, you were like one of my first, I think you were like my platoon sergeant. You were definitely a squad leader at least. But I remember.
Yeah, I was a squad leader for a while, yeah. I don't think I was a platoon sergeant. But
I thought you were acting for a little while, but it was
under I don't remember.
Mike Edmondson and Steve Schweitzer, officer and bandmaster.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I got to the school, classed up, met a whole bunch of people that I keep in touch with. I can say probably most of the people in my class I still keep in touch with. At least, I'm friends with them on Facebook or something. There's a couple that I don't even know where they are, but made some lifelong friends in that. I got the equivalent of 2 years of college classes in a music degree. Got to do a lot of PT. I actually got, I remember you teaching a class on how to do pyramids to improve your pull-ups. Well, any exercise, but you were talking about how to do, one pull-up, get down and do one push-up, then get up and do one pull-up or 2 pull-ups, and then go up the pyramid and back down. The school. Let's see, what else? I don't know, man. The school was such a great time. It was my first taste of adult freedom in the Marine Corps, because you have barracks room, but we're not like the Army, because they have their MOS. They're still part of boot camp basically for them. So they have a building. We're sitting there, we just have we have a barracks room and we have a roommate, and as long as you don't do anything stupid, you can come and
Now,
go
did
as
you
you
take
please.
advantage and go out to like the ocean front and go out and
Oh, yeah.
see the sights in
Absolutely.
Virginia Beach?
Yeah, absolutely. I went to the Virginia Symphony like twice.
Nice.
I can't remember what all I did. I don't think I really hit like a lot of big attractions, but I would go out. I went to church out in town and made friends, and just lived life. So
Right.
yeah, it was a great experience, really great experience. And of course, it's great to be doing something you love, doing the job you love doing, practicing music all day and getting paid for it. That was super cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
How often can you say you can do that, where
yeah,
you're in an environment and learning, new tricks of the trade, if you will, but yeah, and getting paid. That's the best part of it.
absolutely. So yeah, school was a great experience. I fell majorly in love with a woman there from the Army. I don't know how. I guess we didn't do anything because she had a boyfriend, but somehow, I guess after she got out of her first phase or whatever, like we started spending more time together and talking a lot more. But yeah, like when I think about the school, I think about that little, I don't know what to call it, puppy love, I guess, kind of, maybe a little more than that. It was an unrequited love, and I think of it as kind of like a love lost kind of situation. But there's a spot for that as well when I think back to the school. Definitely.
Very nice. They do call it the school of matrimony sometimes.
They
So,
do. Yeah.
because that happens a lot.
Yeah. There was Amy Hernandez married a guy named Carol while they were there. I don't know if it was while they were there. They got together while they were there, and then he ended up lat moving into some other MOS, but she eventually came out to Pendleton, was in the band there, and they were at Pendleton together as a married couple. And there's Jose and Christy Espinoza, and then there was the Word Is, and Banfield just has a thing about people getting married. I married a Marine Bands woman. We were never in the unit together, but we actually did a joint concert between Pendleton and MCRD for the 4th of July in 2004, I believe. No, because we were in Iraq in 04, so it was 05.
That was the Escondido concert, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Were you on that?
Yeah. I believe so, yeah. I don't know. They all run together now. I don't know.
Oh, they did it every year, didn't they?
Yeah, well, Pendleton did it every year for a long time, and then because of the deployments, they ended up passing it off to somebody else. So now they kind of, I think it floats back and forth, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I met my wife, and I know a lot of the marriages I've referred to already, including mine, didn't last. So I tell you, don't get married on your first term. Well, I was on my second term when I got married, and it still didn't work out. So I don't know if I know what the secret sauce is any more than anybody else.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
So you do your time at the schoolhouse, and you're going to leave there. You go to Camp Pendleton. And this is right. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but Pendleton had been deployed, the band, and they were the initial push up into Baghdad, right? So the initial invasion into Iraq. They just get back, and now you're checking into the unit, right? New Marine, Junior Marine, checking in. How was that for you?
Well, it was a lot like the School of Music, because it was me in kind of a ghost town with skeleton crew. There was Adam Jaworski, who got to the unit while the band was on the deployment, and so he was just kind of like what do they call it, rear party or whatever they call that.
Yeah,
party in the rear. But yeah, so he was there, and I think it was Master Gun Schweitzer. No, he went on that first deployment. But there was somebody that was there. Some staff NCO was there, because he couldn't have been the only one. He was like a, boot corporal.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was.
I don't remember who was there. But yeah, it was him and Josh McAdams and
McAdams, yeah.
Alberto Gordado, who I think just got promoted to Master Sergeant.
Who was it?
Alberto Gordado. He was a corporal. I know it was at least a gunny.
Really? I can't even place who that is right now.
Oh, you remember Mindy Baird? I don't know if you were.
That name sounds familiar.
Yeah, she played flute, piccolo. But yeah, you may have been gone already by the time she got there. But they ended up getting married.
Maybe.
So she's Mindy.
Okay.
And they had a together and everything. Well, anyway, so it was me and a couple boots that skated under the wire and got there after. No, actually, because Guardado and McAdams had been on that deployment, so I guess they were on leave because the band was on leave. They had already gotten back, and the band was on leave.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it was maybe I don't know if Rob Trenum was there at that time.
He got there around that same time. He did. Yeah, I don't remember exactly when, but it was around the same time.
So that was there.
Might have been. Yeah.
So anyway, it was just a handful of Marines. Where I know I'm just like, McAdams and Guardado kind of took me under their wing, said, "Here's what we've been doing. Hang out with us." And there's a lot of IPing.
Yeah.
And, same old hurry up and wait kind of stuff. But it was only like a week until the band got back from their leave. And and that was really, really an experience because, like I said, they put you through uniform school and they put you through, I don't even remember what else. It's not like an official school, but it's just, it's.
They let you know how little you know about uniforms and how to prep them. Yeah.
A lot of instruction on how, and I still use a lot of that stuff to this day. I just ironed a pair of pants. I went to a funeral a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Or a couple weeks ago, and I ironed a pair of like Dockers kind of blue khaki, and the way I ironed it was I didn't make them look like uniform pants, but I was like doing all the same stuff, all the tricks I learned and everything, and so yeah, that was gosh, just the uniforms. Oh, the edge dressing on the shoes, the creases, the pants, the shirt stays, the tight as fuck shirt stays. Can you say fuck on TV? I don't know.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. You're good.
All right.
This is not for children.
Yeah. But you know what? Our uniforms look dang good, and you could pop a quarter off of our butts. So
yeah.
No, we were looking good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I met a lot of my close lifelong friends. Adam Jaworski. I went to his second wedding, Nebraska.
Okay.
What was that? 2000? I don't know, a bunch of years ago. But we were close enough that all those years later he wanted me to be there. And let's see, who else? Austin Moore, like I said. Joey Sanchez, he and I keep in touch. Of course, he and I kind of butted heads a lot, but he's just one of those people that just doesn't think like me. And so it was, we had a hard relationship, but we were roommates for a long time. We were kind of like, we're always at each other's throats, but we would sit and play. He was a horn player too, so he was in my section. So we would sit and play horn together. We would just geek out and be band dorks over horn stuff together. We played board games and, we did all kinds of stuff. We would go places in my car. I had a car and he didn't, so I'd take him to the commissary or whatever. And we spent time together, but we also there's some sparks that flew there. So that was a lot of fun.
That's kind of part of it, I would say. You got to have your conflict within, like you said, like brothers, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's good.
So there's Joey Sanchez, Josh McAdams. I haven't kept up with him a lot, but we talked a lot. I think we talked a little bit more like right after I got out. I know I'm friends with him on Facebook, but gosh, who else? I don't know. There's just a sea of faces that so many people I met in my first band that I have kept in touch with, or that I think about a lot over the years.
Yeah.
People that really took me under their wing and really showed me how to function and taught me the tricks of the trade, and Jeremy, and you're one of those people too.
So I showed up, if I'm not mistaken, I showed up after you because everyone had been back and already doing gigs, and I showed up. And I know for me checking in, I hadn't had any deployment experience, none of that stuff. So I was checking in. I'm like, these guys are going to eat me alive, right? That's was my
Division
train
band.
of thought. Yeah, it's division hard.
Oh,
So I remember checking in a little nervous. I'm like, man, these guys, they know what's going on, type of thing. But it was really cool. Everyone took me under the wing. They just kind of said, hey, look, here's the deal. And it just kind of rolled. So I was very thankful that they didn't, hold that, you didn't deploy with us type of thing over my head or, stuff like that. It was actually a pretty good transition for me. So thankfully, all those guys took me under their wing. So was that kind of the same thing for you?
well, yeah, but I mean, it wasn't long before we knew we were going to be deploying again. Because
Yeah,
we deployed in
yeah,
February
true.
of '04. And so,
Hmm.
I got there in July of
Hmm.
'03. And then, we started working up for the next deployment. I think by maybe August, we knew we were going, and we started doing security training, doing patrols, and um, inspecting
Yep.
vehicles and ECP, entry control point, um,
Yeah.
security operations and all that kind of stuff. And so we dove right in, and we continued operating as a band. We did the changes of command, we did the post and relief, the retirements, birthday ball season. We did it all, and we still trained for the
Yeah.
deployment. We were working really hard. So, I think at that time, especially because we knew if you just joined the unit and did you even deploy, bro? That wasn't a thing because everybody was about to deploy. So, whether you had deployed once or never, it was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we're all on the next mission together, and we're all going to do this. So that was one thing that probably helped,
Yeah.
is
That's a
that,
good point.
there wasn't any, well, you missed your chance, man. So yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Very
it
true.
was a good group of people, a lot of
So,
good
so like
training,
you
a lot of,
said, yeah, like you said, you got there and in July, you were deploying in February, right? Or we were all deploying in February. So kind of talk me through your mindset. I'm there, I'm in the band, and they're talking about deploying again. And kind of what is going through your mind through that whole thing? Because most people, you join the band, you're like, yeah, I'm not deploying. At least that's how I was when I joined, right? Yeah, that's not
well,
ever going to happen. But here
yeah.
we are, we're going to deploy. So what was going through your mind?
Well, to be honest with you, when I was in boot camp, I got this wild hair up my butt and decided, oh man, I shouldn't have joined the band. The band is soft. I want to be a sniper. I should have joined the infantry. You know how boot camp is. They're just, rah, 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 rah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, very, very Marine Corps military. And, they talk a lot about pogues out there. So I was like, well, I'm the poguest of them all because I'm in the band. So I read this book by, I forget the name of the author, but it was about Carlos Hathcock. It was called Marine Sniper.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a good
I
book.
read that book in boot camp, and I was just like, oh, like I want to be a sniper. So I guess, the fact that I was going to get deployed was good news to me because I was like, all right, now I can be, I can do what Marines do, go to a
Yeah.
combat zone, and we're going to do security. So, it's not like we're going to be, out on the front line or whatever, but it's like, we're going to be there. We're going to be
Yeah.
doing stuff that needs to be done, and who knows what could happen, So, it's not like I was like itching to go kill somebody or anything, but it was like, I would, once I joined, yeah, I kind of was like, okay, I'm going to join the band because I don't want to get deployed. That's why I'm okay with doing that. But once I joined, I was like, wait a minute, like, and the whole reason I wanted to join in the first place wasn't to go hide behind a French Hornet, was I wanted to serve. And
Yeah.
so I found my motivation and found my, um, just the Marine in me came out. And I was really grateful that I did have an opportunity to do some laying rounds downrange type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, talk me through a little bit from your perspective. Like how was the deployment for you? Because you did more than one deployment, correct? You went deployment after that as well. So kind of talk me through your deployments and how that went for you.
Okay. Well, the first one was from February '04 until we got back in think we got back in September, or we got back in, I don't know, August or September. Yeah, the first
Yeah, it was
one
about
was 6
September. Yeah.
second one was 7 months. But we did 6 months out there. We did we stood guard on Camp Ramadi, which was Camp Ramadi. No,
Camp Blue Diamond.
Second deployment was Camp Ramadi. Camp Blue Diamond was formerly an army base. Before that, it was a Saddam Hussein compound, from what I was. And so we took it over from Lieutenant General Sanchez and whoever he was over in the army, and he handed it off to Lieutenant General Conway, who was later the Commandant Marine Corps. But he was out there and did the change of command. That was the one deployment where we took our horns and our rifles, and we actually were marching from the barracks, which was all the way at the back of the camp. It was kind of like it was right along the Euphrates River. So there's the river, and then it's kind of like the Gaza Strip. It's just a long, narrow piece of land.
Yeah.
And we went from the very back all the way to the very front by the gate, and we marched with our rifle slung over our back, and I was carrying my French horn on my arm like this, and it was like the one time in the whole 7 years I was in where I was a bandsman and a rifleman at the same time, and that was pretty cool. I don't know if anybody ever got any pictures of that. It was
our pictures floating around of that. There are, and I'll get with Trenholm because I'm pretty sure he has a bunch of them. But I used to, and I don't know where all my photos went. But I know Trenholm has some of those, so we'll get you some of those photos. They're pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to have something like that. So we did that change of command between General Sanchez and General Conway, and for the rest of the deployment, we renamed the Camp Blue Diamond. I think it was Camp Victory under the
something like that. Yeah.
We named it Camp Blue Diamond. So we stood guard on Tower. I usually had Tower 4, Tower 6, Tower 5, and there were other towers that I stood guard in. I think there were 6 or 7 towers around the whole perimeter.
Yeah.
I normally stood 4, 5, and 6. Once in a while, I got 1 and 2 and 3, but that was kind of like the other side of the camp. So Tower 4 was over. Well, so there's Tower 6, which is like a big, like a Rapunzel tower kind of thing. It was like, big stone thing with a staircase inside, and it was almost like a little.
That was the one on the center of the camp, right?
Yeah, it was
like a big archway where the road went through.
Well, yeah. So that was, yes, that was. So there was an archway like that, like the Arc of Triumph, kind of in Paris. There were 2 arches. There was one at the gate, and then there was one a little bit further back. And the one at the gate had 2 towers, one on either side, and so both of them were positioned over the road in the camp. And then there was one that was right over the river, and then there was one that was over. I guess it was some kind of a date palm grove. So it was outside the wire, basically, on the other side. And so there was 2 towers that were exactly like that. And I don't think I ever stood guard in either one of those, but I did do what they called cock watch. You remember that?
Okay, you got to explain to everybody what that is.
Sergeant Alex Bush just loved, and that's really funny, Bush cock, but he just loved just saying that I've got cock watch tonight. But it was Command Operations Center, and then Major General Jim Mattis, that was his base of operations for the whole theater that he was over, had command over. But that was a ground floor suite kind of thing, like in the bottom of the tower. He had his barracks room. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So I had to stand guard at the Command Operations Center, and one night, General Mattis came out to take a piss, and he walked out to the Porta-John, and then he walked back in, and I'm standing there, alert to the dirt. How we doing tonight, my fine young men? And I was like, good, sir. How are you tonight? He's like, good. Well, carry on. And then he walked back in. It was like no big deal. It was like, yes. I think he shook my hand too. I'm not sure, but so yeah, that was my claim to fame. I mean, we saw General Mattis more than once throughout the years because he was the division commander while I was there, and he loved the band. And we did a lot of changes.
Yeah,
he was there.
Speaking of
the one time I saw him,
speaking of the Cockwatch,
me personally.
Yeah. Speaking of the Cockwatch, I remember as I was starting a guard and I was standing in the shadows, right? So there was like the main building, right, which is where the sentry was. And then there were two small huts outside of that, which is where the sergeant major, I think, and the CG, which was General Mattis, that's where they were at. And I remember I was standing next to his hut, but in the shadows. So I'm watching the sentry, making sure he's doing what he's supposed to do. And Mattis had walked out next, like going up the walkway up into the COC. And I said good evening to him because it was middle of the night or whatever. It was dark. I remember that. And I was like, good evening, sir. And he about come unglued. He turned around. He's like, oh my God, what are you doing? I was like, sir, I'm just watching the sentry, make sure he's doing. You can get yourself shot. And I was like, oh yes, sir. Yeah, I understood. I scared the crap out of him,
Wow.
Out of nowhere. I'm saying, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Well,
it shows times.
Yeah. Yeah. General Mattis. He's like a superhero for the Marine Corps, though,
Yeah. He was real deal. Loved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talk me through the rest of it, man, and tell me how did it all go for you?
All right, so we stood. Tower 6 was like it was the largest, and it was kind of the most central because it was on the perimeter, and it overlooked this section. Was shaped kind of like an X. It was like this came from up here and kind of turned and went that way, but then there was another road that came from the opposite direction and so it was more like a whatever that would be called.
Yeah,
not X, but like a wonky X. But anyway, so it was really interesting. It was just another one of those culture shock things because, they gave us culture classes before we went over there. So, the whole idea of if you meet and talk to any Iraqis, it's considered rude to cross your leg and point the bottom of your foot at somebody because it's considered dirty and you're cursing them or whatever. This does not mean stop. This means come here. So if you're trying to tell somebody to stop, don't do this. This.
That's right.
Fingers in your hands together. You gotta do this. And we learned a few basic phrases in Arabic, and so that was pretty cool. But it was really interesting because it was like this, this road that it was in the main. It was like went through the main. Well, I don't know if it was the main drag, but it was a central part of Ramadi. And it was really interesting because there were no lines on the road, there were no traffic control devices, no stop signs, no nothing. It was just pavement. And people would just come from all four directions and just like ants, just make their way through the intersection, not crash into each other, and then continue on. It was just like, man, like, I think we're doing it wrong out in America. Like we have all of these road signs and lights and lines and everything. We get so many accidents. I saw one car accident the whole time I was there, 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, man, this is something else. Like talk about people not thinking the same, they don't even have lines on the road out here. So
that's funny.
Another cool thing was we got to see once in a while. I think every day this guy had a butcher shop across the street. You remember seeing that?
Yeah, I do.
It was pretty brutal, man. Like they would walk this cow in, just bopping along, having a great day, chewing on some cud. All of a sudden, they take a wire and put it around his feet and yank on it while somebody's pushing on his hindquarters. And he falls to the ground, and then they start sawing on his neck. And we would sit there and watch this guy butcher this cow, but it was kind of brutal because we were just, he would cut the windpipe and the arteries and then leave the spinal cord intact so that the heart would keep beating and the cow would bleed out. And that was pretty brutal to watch. So it was kind of like, hey, here's where your food comes from. Don't forget. But at the same time, like, I mean, I know in the United States, we have various humane methods of dispatching cattle when it's their time. But, it's just, again, it was just getting to see their culture. And that was a particularly eye-opening thing that we got to see. I got to see it, I don't know, a couple times a week because just shifts that we had, whether I was on shift at 8 a.m. or so, whenever he would do it. But we would watch this guy, start with a live cow. And then I remember a couple hours later, this guy would come in and, he was some other kind of merchant, a leather guy or whatever, but he would come in and then he would walk out with this cow skin just draped over his back every day to come buy this cow skin from this guy. And it was like, man, it was like, almost like stepping back in time to the Bible.
Mhm.
People did things, It was I don't know if you'd call it third world or maybe second world, but they had cell phones, they had running water, they had electricity, they had a lot of modern conveniences, but then they also still dump their waste in the river, and then they use that to irrigate their crops and their electricity and their cell phone, their infrastructure, their first world infrastructure was kind of spotty. I remember the electricity going out a lot.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's called second world or what, but it was interesting because they were trying to, modernize everything, but they were having a lot of starts and stops with it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember the slaughtering of the cow. I remember the first time I heard somebody's like, they're slaughtering a cow or whatever. I was like, what? So I was like, yeah, I got to go check this out type of day. So yeah, it's very interesting. That, and I remember, and you probably remember this being on Tower 6, individuals walking by with weapons like AK-47s.
They were allowed
but
to.
they had it slung over their back and they're allowed to have them, and the rules of engagement was you couldn't shoot at them unless they pointed the weapon at you. If they pointed the weapon at you, you could shoot back. But other than that, it's like, and there were people all the time walking with weapons, that was a normal occurrence there in Ramadi.
Yep. I think it needs to be a little bit more of a normal thing out here.
Yeah.
You can walk down the street with a rifle and people don't think you're some crazy mass shooter. It's like, no, man, I love freedom. That's all it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, that was, you had to be on high alert because, people weren't necessarily looking to take pot shots at the tower in broad daylight, but you never know. As a matter of fact, Jeff Gerke.
It happened a couple of times. Yeah, Gerke, that's right.
They were always shooting IDF at us.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's true.
But I don't know. I don't remember of any times where people were just like, there was one time where, Gerke engaged, and he was the first Marine bandsman since sometime in the 60s, I think, in Vietnam to earn a combat action ribbon. So that story was he was in Tower 6, and there was some kind of a vacant field directly across. And I guess they just had like a shot come from the field. And I remember there was like a tractor that was pulling a wagon or something that had gone by, and then it went by again. I don't remember all the details exactly, but there ended up being a minor skirmish, kind of a firefight type thing. Mm-hmm. I think there was IDF involved as well. And that was the only action that anybody ever saw from our unit out there in 04. 06 was a much different story.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 04, Camp Ramadi, that was, let's see, what else? I can't remember how much of the Iraqi food I tried there. I don't think I tried any Iraqi food in 04 because we got all of our food from the chow hall.
Mm-hmm. If you got any, it was from the guy that owned the date fields right outside the camp, because I remember he would come on and bring food every now and again.
Okay.
So if you ever did get any, it was from him.
I don't remember if I ever. Yes, I do remember that. I do remember now. Who was it? I guess maybe it was an interpreter. I remember. Yeah. Okay. So that's where I first got to taste their kebab, which is like a beef roll, or it was a lamb roll.
Mm-hmm.
I tried kebab, shawarma, falafel. What else? I don't remember what all foods. Oh, I just had like a roasted chicken. You know, it's just like peasant food, but the way these people cook this food, it was mind blowing, man. It was like, I've had falafel a lot of places since I went to Iraq, but I mean, I've gotten it like 80, 90% what I had out there, but I don't know what they did to it, man. But it was just, you know, it was so savory.
I think I know what it was. I'm going to say this. I think it was you got so used to the chow hall food that anything different, you were like, man, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, because a lot of times we were eating MREs in the chow hall. That's just
that's true.
I don't know why. I don't know if it was a supply thing or whatever it was, but yeah. So yeah,
I remember they had
food.
coffee. They had coffee every time. They always had coffee.
That's nice. I would not remember that because I was Mormon at the time and didn't drink coffee.
Yeah.
Funny story. I remember.
I don't know how you survived.
I don't know either, man. Honestly, don't. Funny story, real quick. Birthday ball season. Gosh, I mean, we were at Camp Pendleton because I remember. I think you were either a sergeant or a staff sergeant. I was pretty boot first or second year birthday ball season, but I picked up this piece of tiramisu. They fed us chow before the gig, you know, and they gave us all the dessert and everything from the banquet. And I picked up this piece of tiramisu, and you're like, "Hey, Smith, just want to let you know that contains whatever Kahlua or whatever it was."
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, I think it probably bakes out. And it was like, yeah, I think you were saying like, no, they don't bake it; they just mix it in there. You were trying to warn me because you knew I was Mormon and didn't want to offend God by drinking or eating anything with God. I appreciate that. I mean, you weren't like.
Did you actually eat it? I don't remember that.
I think I did.
Eat it?
I think I did. You weren't being like teasing about it. You were just legitimately trying to be like, hey, you know, you should know if you care about this.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, but you know, I'm gonna have to repent because this tiramisu looks good as hell right now. Yeah.
I bet it was really good though.
It was, man. Birthday ball season, man. I did not let up on that food.
Don't forget that the VA does have some great resources out there. You can always dial 988, press option 1. You can always text 838-255, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net, click on that chat icon. Any of those options are going to put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. But remember, one veteran life loss is one too many. I care about you. Cameron cares about you. The whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. With that, Cameron, thanks again one last time for coming on. To all listeners out there, stay motivated, change your socks.